be wide open once the first bans are done and we get into those first picks. So let's see, Team Solo Mid, on A side, knowing that when they don't have that, secondary priority, when their opponents aren't going to be picking first, they don't want to give them the chance of grabbing that scarf. So it is going to be the Grace banned away by Immortals, and Crow taken immediately by Team Solo Mid.
That's interesting. So that cat leaves Cath open, and then they can ban Celeste here, or just keep it open and take it away from TSM. So they should ban something like Black Feather that could be potentially good onto the Celeste, because potentially TSM can still run a Black Feather with a Cruel if they want to.
Yeah, they certainly can. Immortals on the ban now, deciding where they want to go with this one. Obviously, Celeste is still available, but they get the next pick, so they might want to leave that open so that they can grab it for themselves.
Yeah, or they may take away Lyra, actually. Lyra or Arden would be good. If they ban Lyra, TSM will take the Arden. If they ban Arden, then wow, they're going to actually go with the Idris instead. So that will leave Lyra open for TSM. Lyra and Arden, and Lance actually is open as well.
Plenty of options, and Team Solo Mid obviously not likely to ban one of those captains. They're going to take the Batiste away, of course, because Catherine is on the other side.
They should take Celeste here for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It just makes too much sense to take that away from Best Chuck. It's what he's been playing all series long thus far, and now he's going to have to get himself onto something different. Of course, that's not too much of a concern for someone like Best Chuck, who we know has an incredibly deep hero pool.
Yeah, absolutely. And now TSM on this double pick, they have a few different directions they can go with. Obviously, Cruel has been a staple jungler in this current meta, and while it is inherently an aggressive jungler, it doesn't have to be played so, and it doesn't dictate your entire team's playstyle.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Cruel is a playstyle TSM loves because Vainglory wants to be aggressive, he wants to get in your face, stick onto the carry, and basically weaken them. So right here, Adagio Black Feather. Oh, wow, Adagio Lyra instead.
Here we go. Double heal. This is the old school double heal composition that we used to see, a couple of seasons ago. The Adagio Lyra and Kroll. You have to assume that it's going to be the Adagio in the lane, but Kroll can be empowered so heavily with this.
Yeah, this is why I said Lyra or Adagio or Arden here, but banning Idris didn't make sense to me. They have Cath. Idris is not good into Cath. You don't need to ban Idris. Let them pick the Idris into a Cath because Cath is good. So they're going to go with the Glaive, and they have the triple stun versus a double sustain.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one, and they're going to lock in that Glaive. The worry for me is a lack of mortal wounds available to them. Something like a Fortress is amazing into this kind of composition, but when you don't have that, I mean, are we going to see something like a Poison Shiv on Glaive? Is that a path that they're going to be able to go down?
Yeah.
It's a possibility. It's actually almost likely just because they need to have mortal wounds in some capacity, but with a Glaive, that sort of takes away a little bit of his effectiveness because he is all about the crits.
All right, then we'll see what build path he is going to go down. It's time to jump into Game 3 and see who can take an advantage in this series between TSM and Immortals.
Triple stun for Immortals versus super sustain for Team Solo Mid. I'm sure that this Game 3 is going to be fireworks.
I mean, it's going to be fireworks, but it's all about Vainglory on that Kroll. I'm going to have eyes on him. Of course, a lot of support coming from Best Chuck. A lot of support coming from Flash, but he's going to have to go wild on this Immortals team.
We'll see what they can do. I mean, Bacon talked about it. This kind of does harken back to the original sustain composition that we saw play time and time again in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. But it is a risky type of composition to play with so much CC from Immortals. Everything has to be executed quite well. Hello here, Immortals.
Hello, hello. Immortals moving in. This is pure aggression at its finest. Even a Dragon Blood contract procced off in Immortals. First Blood.
I feel like I just teleported back to 2015. I have not seen a triple man invade.
It is 2015, Fuji.
Oh, God. Oh, man, I have not seen an invade like that in so long, and to actually put that kind of pressure on Kroll, this was one of the things that made Kroll so difficult to play in the past, was if you invaded him early and you shut him down, he was never able to actually scale up to where he wanted to be.
Oh, Afterburn catches Best Chuck, peeling him away from his Lyra, and this will be a dead Adagio. Just a matter of time. Immortals come out swinging here in Game 3.
It's like a three-man rolling ball of death just moving through the map right now. There is a lane here still, folks at home. It is not just a jungle, but we might see a little bit of a reset in position after that first attempt. I love it. Some new strategies, some new things coming onto the fold here from Immortals to showcase that it's not just about the normal rotations, it's not just about the normal meta. We've prepped some things for this tournament, perhaps even specifically for TSM.
Absolutely, and a lot of times the TSM rotation that they did getting into the backs would have worked out pretty well in many cases, but just backfiring here as Immortals one step ahead. So as far as like the scaling of these teams, how are we going to see this play out?
So one thing that's going to have to happen is TSM's going to have to be extremely careful in the early game not to get behind, because if they do, if Dienzio gets any further ahead than he is right now, off pattern from where you would expect Celeste to be, it's going to be very difficult for them to actually take her down. And if Adagio gets out of position even one time, it's going to die. He's just going to die to Celeste straight up.
Yeah, well, I mean, we know the Adagio, this is not a mobile hero, right? And of course, the Celeste is going to do so good into that. What would we expect Dienzio's itemization to be here?
Honestly, the same as you would normally see. You want the 4-item offensive, you want to get a reflex block at some point pretty early, but there's not a lot of lockdown coming from TSM. It's just Hell's Heart that's going to be able to really keep him from moving. So what I actually am more interested to see is if Immortals can have the presence of mind to not get distracted by Kroll when they notice Adagio out of position. If Best Chuck tries to go around, get in position for the heal, get himself empowered, Agent of Wrath, get the autos off, can they immediately tell Tigers, go get him.
Sick him.
Sick him.
Go get him, Glaive. I mean, thus far, Glaive has been kind of the defining factor of the victories in the series.
Yeah, it definitely has been. Max Green is on this Catherine again, but here we go.
Empowered, moves up, taking a lot of damage. Score collapse off the mark. Nice heal out of Lyra, keeping Von C alive and in fighting shape. Max Green drops low. Weakness stacks on both of them. They've split Zio away from his team. T-Tigers is in a bad place.
Dead Man's Rush.
Should be able to catch him. There you go. Dead Man's Rush forward. Team Solo Mid put themselves on the board.
That's it. That's what we want to see. We want to see Von C, the confidence he had on Kroll in game one. TSM says, look, if you want to play like that, let's just get you a couple of healers or something, and then you'll be all right. And he's like, all right, let's do it. Let's get into game three. We'll try it out this time on A side. I like the aggression. I like the fact they're able to get in. They do sneak out with that front treant, so that's a little bit of a bonus from them. And Von C also walking away with the Elder, so TSM trying to get a little bit back into the game after that incredibly successful early invade from Immortals.
I actually didn't notice until just now, but Flash going for the Crucible first item here. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to really amp up those heals from the Imperial Sigil. One thing you have to be careful, though, is if you get dove under turret, you only get one opportunity. Whoa, boot active going in from Tiggs here.
Oh, Tiggs smelling an opportunity and finding the mid camp.
He smelled it out. He went in. They used the strategy. Go get him.
T-Tigers just has a sense when that thing starts dropping low.
I mean, he's got the tension bow on him, so a lot of burst damage there. It's good for killing heroes. Also good for securing last hits against your opponent's jungle camp. So I like the fact that they're still being aggressive. Immortals not shying off. They do have the gold lead by about 1,000 gold here at almost 5 minutes into the game. No major item completion from the Best Chuck yet, but Dienzio does have his Eve, so some of that sustain will help him out a lot in this Adagio-Lyra combo.
You know, Max hanging out to protect Dienzio a lot, and T-Tigers has been doing this almost more than anybody. He actually picks up his own scout traps from time to time to get them down into important positions, especially around Tri-Brush and down by the shop. I've seen this a couple times, and I really like it.
Yeah, you definitely have to do it. I mean, Kroll loves living in the darkness, loves living in the brush and coming out for a surprise. We also know that Von C is quite the big fan of countering your own jungle, coming in for a gank on the opponent's side. So that one scout trap in the tri-bush on Immortals is going to keep him safe for now. They also have one in the top brush. I like to see that. This is something teams often overlook. Krolls love to get up in that top brush, make some plays from the top of the map. If you got a scout there, you can at least avoid a power spike play once Von C hits level 6.
Dienzio currently sitting on 60 last hits to the 45 of Best Chuck. A pretty serious advantage starting to stack up here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're still seeing the remnants of that early invade paying off for this team, just distracting Best Chuck. He feels like he needs to go in. He needs to actually steal jungle away instead of being able to farm the lane. Most of the wave was able to crash into Immortals after that early invade, so Dienzio not really losing too much CS there. Best Chuck does have his alternating current finished. Very important item for Adagio to really amp up his damage in this early game.
We're starting to see the back and forth already. Max pulling out that Merciless Pursuit. in and out, not finding the range, just backing up. These guys push their heroes to the limit so incredibly well.
Yeah, TSM has to be extremely careful, though, because they do not have a long-range mage on their team, so Dienzio's poke is going to be brutal against Lyra and Adagio until Von C is there. So this is literally, TSM has to team fight as a 3-man. Their win condition is Von C in the front line, Adagio in the back line, getting the damage off, getting the heals on Von C. Imperial Sigil giving Von C that speed boost to the target of their choice. Eyes on him for being able to block these stuns, these afterburns, these core collapses. It's a lot of CC for him to have to avoid.
I'm really curious to see how that's actually going to play out. I mean, it feels like Von C almost has to just completely run at them, unless they got an arcane passage to use to port them into the backside, but there's so much disable at that point, like you almost leave yourself in a vulnerable position.
Yeah, one of the tough things about arcane passage is once it goes down, that Dienzio can just drop a core collapse on one side of it. Max can actually just stand there and just kind of wait for you to pop out on the other side and just poke you in the nose with his shield, stun you down, lock you up. Of course, Afterburn can deliver you even further into the back line. I don't necessarily feel like Von C will be too disappointed on that delivery method, but Best Chuck certainly does not want to be caught on the side.
We do have Versus Judgment available for Best Chuck if he gets into a dangerous position. Also, Max Green has his ultimate available, so these are a couple big abilities that I want to keep my eyes on here as we move forward.
Something other notable is we see a Shiver Steel pretty early finish here from Von C, really changing up the build path. Tension Bow was a very popular item we saw a lot of Krolls going for first, especially this weekend. But looking like perhaps maybe a breaking point might come through, not quite sure. Could just be Sorrow Blade with a little bit of attack speed. We'll have to see what direction he goes. But a breaking point Shiver Steel Kroll, that's something we haven't seen in quite a long time.
Quite a long time. I mean, what's the idea behind that? Oh, hold that. We maybe talk about this here in a second. T-Tigers looked quite aggressive. Von C coming around the backside, a very Von C-esque rotation.
He has
Immortals, you're in a tricky position. He's going to fight the stun coming out. CO dropping low. Max Green as well. A whole bunch of CC coming out, and CO will go down. T-Tiger's getting lit up as well. Von C's got him slowed down. The Spectral Smite comes through, but he stays alive. A really nice reflex coming out there
Sigil.
at the end. Oh, they got it with a Sigil. What a play coming out. Team Solomid pushing this one to the limits, and off the back of that one, Fuji, they'll take a turret for their troubles.
We talked about this. We nailed it right on the head. We were like, keep your vision up. Kroll likes to be able to be in the brush. He specifically loves coming from the enemy side of the jungle, and that's exactly what happens right here. Von C gets the ultimate flank into Dienzio. Dienzio unable to escape. Also, Smite not used for Dienzio means he's able to put Tigers all the way down to, oh man.
What a calculated reflex.
The timing on that reflex block
was so good.
Was literally between the tapping of activation on Smite and the actual Smite execution. That's like half a second, maybe less.
I think less. It's very impressive. T-Tigers, though, one of the players that we would expect to make those kind of plays.
I would expect T-Tigers to do a lot of things. That's certainly one of them, but I expect T-Tigers not to let it shake him either. That is a turret down for them, but he's not known for playing poorly on the back foot. In fact, oftentimes he is the playmaker to get his team back on the front foot.
So that was some nice aggression coming out of Team Solomid, but it was because of the element of surprise, I have to say. Are they going to have that time and time again? I don't think so.
Seems like a pretty big learning curve here for Immortals, is just to make sure they keep having their vision down. But a thing to note with this type of Catherine build style, when you go for the Echo, sometimes you go for the Null Wave, maybe even a Crucible at some point, you don't typically have enough room to continue placing vision. And if you do, you're constantly lowering your power spike item advantage because you have to spend so much gold keeping Von C from being in places you don't want him to be.
Max hanging out in the brush there. He'll be forced out by Von C. Fuji, one thing that I'm noticing here, Max Green only 5 stacks on that Captain of the Guard at this point. He's really way behind what we classically see out of our Catherine.
He just doesn't feel like he can be aggressive with his merciless pursuits. He feels like he needs to save them for the Kroll engage. You can see even right now he's not using them.
Things are getting crazy. Crystal Sentry's getting left. First
Silence
Blaster
lands.
is going to come out here. Helios starting to stack up from Hell's Heart, blocked off. T-Tigers is now the target that they're focusing on. Core Collapse comes out onto Adagio. Best Chuck, he's not going to live through this. Best Chuck stays alive. Will drop, traded 1 for 1 now. Zio putting the damage down. This game is so incredibly even.
Wow, that team fight, I like the fact that D'Enzio decided he wanted to basically have a one-on-one with Best Chuck on the back line. He says, if Kroll's not going to focus me, I'm going to change my target focus. I have to question a little bit of the decision-making there from TSM not going back to focus down Celeste so Best Chuck doesn't die. But that being said, they do come out with a kill. They're able to take some jungle away, so it is a little bit of a net positive, just giving TSM a slight gold lead now over Immortals.
Whew, I'll take a moment here. It's 4-3, about 12 minutes into this one. Very even, very back and forth. Either team capable of taking a team fight at this point. We've seen Team Solo Mid abuse the element of surprise. That one was just right in the face of Immortals. I mean, they started on the Crystal Sentry and just went from there.
I mean, that was definitely a very bold play from TSM to be in the jungle back there like that, especially considering the fact that Max Green's right there. He's able to silence you. He's able to lock you down. Crystal Sentry, definitely an objective you'd like to remove as soon as possible, but it is not worth giving up anything other major on the map, especially turrets. Obviously, Gold Mine is in that category as well. You asked me earlier, Humanist, what is this breaking point all about? Well, honestly, I really feel like Von C thinks this team fight is going to last quite some time. He's going to have a lot of sustain. He's going to have a lot of time to build up those stacks. But once again, Afterburn, Core Collapse, Merciless Pursuit, assumingly Atlas fairly soon, perhaps on T-Tigers. There's so many things for Von C to have to prioritize the block. I don't really know what he's going to think is most important quite yet. But they do get that gold mine payout, so that is one thing to help him get to another block, perhaps.
T-Tigers Afterburn over the wall. Pretty dangerous just to be able to get his mid. T-Tigers in a bad place. Core Collapse will be able to stun up Von C, but the From Hell's Heart will connect, and Team Solo Mid find a kill. A very uncharacteristic mistake coming out of T-Tigers there.
Yeah, very uncharacteristic mistake. Perhaps just sticking around way too long as well, thinking he was going to be able to get out. I mean, D'Enzio comes down, tries to help, and we saw Core Collapse land, but once again, the question still remains, is TSM going to be able to continue this momentum into the late game? Almost there, Max Green. Fortunately, Smite very good at securing the last hit on minions here in the fold.
You know, all of these teams are so good at almost everything that they can do in the game. One of the things I think TSM does best, I think also Cloud9, Nova do really well. They always go in and take these Crystal Sentries out, like anytime they have that option available to them. You can see it's really paying off for TSM here.
Yeah, I mean, it's gold, it's experience, and it's also map pressure, right? Von C's running up to T-Tigers saying hello. Kind of like how his hand's out front, just like, give me a hug there if you want, buddy. I got a shiver still for you.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not going to turn around. Like, I'm still following
it's
you,
like
bro.
a game of chicken, except the other team's going the wrong way, but they're still looking to steal away camps here. I like the fact TSM keeping this pressure up. Crystal Sentry is coming back onto the map. They are a little early, as that is the intention, so you have to be careful. This is a bit of a 4v3 if they engage Immortals.
Max Green's going to walk in the brush. Von C empowered up, moves over onto the Crystal Sentry. They're going to find the first stun onto Von C. Defensive Afterburn back. D'Enzio trying to find the damage to let loose. The Solar Storm connecting on the Team Solo Mid for the heals route. Boomerang from Hell's Heart will come back. Going to connect there. They've lost Zio. T-Tigers dropping low. Von C trading for the other team. 1-for-1 at this point. T-Tigers able to get out of the route when Flash almost getting him with the sigil on the end of it. And Max will chase them out of his jungle there.
Max has to be one of the most confident Catherine players I have ever seen. He's literally just always eyes on the enemy, even if he's not in a position. He understands the limits of this hero so well. I mean, in this replay, we see some of the difficulty, right? So TSM perhaps playing a little bit too ahead. Crystal Sentry just wailing on their team, unable to really get in a great position, but we see the heals coming out of their team, able to sustain Von C enough for him to get the kill. Well, I mean, blocked. So if Hell's Heart actually lands there, that is the difference between T-Tigers going down or living versus Judgment just barely missing from the slow coming from Lyra there. So great team fight from TSM. They weren't able to get the Crystal Sentry, though. Weren't able to get another turret off of it. So a little bit messy all in all.
So I just want to point out here, Flash going for the Aegis on top of the Crucible. We saw him do this before. I think it makes a whole lot of sense here. We don't see it all the time, but it's a very nice itemization for this game.
Yeah, I mean, and Best Chuck is really trying to go for as big of a heal as he possibly can as well. He has the Shatter Glass, the AC, the Broken Myth, not looking for Frostburn, not really intentionally looking for those slows. They really think that between Lyra and Kroll, they're going to be able to get enough kiting in, enough slow in to be able to get on the target. But the longer this game goes on, the harder and harder it's going to be for TSM to be able to get to the target they want to. CC's just getting stacked and stacked and stacked on the side of Immortals here.
One of the things also, T-Tigers now has an Atlas Pauldron ready to go. T-Tigers moving forward. He's going to find the stun up onto Bez Chuck. The silence is going to come through from Max Green as well. They're trading damage back and forth. The second silence as well. DNZO blocks up the from Hell's Heart. Vainglory has to drop back as Bez Chuck's dropping low. Core Collapse is going to come out, blocked off. Now it's back Vainglory onto Zio. Zio kiting back with the damage there. The Vainglory, the Solar Storm will rip through. They take the troll down. Now on the chase. Arcane Passage looking to disrupt the aggression from Immortals as the chase is on. Flash X will probably drop here. I think Bez Chuck able to get out of this one. Max Green, yeah, he's not going to catch up to Bez Chuck. Immortals, though, turning up the heat and taking a massive team fight win.
I mean, this is not the time you can lose a team fight if you were TSM. Kraken is on the map. I mean, they have all their turrets are in such a good place, but they continue to push their luck. They go for these Crystal Sentry kills, and Immortals is just standing right there. I don't understand why they continue to try to force these team fights. This is not where you want to be if you are TSM. I mean, in this replay, yes, Vainglory waits out the silence, but DNZO, he has the ability to block that with a reflex. The second echoed silence comes out, continues to keep the healing from being able to go on the Vainglory, but look at this afterburn timing from T-Tigers. Just waiting it out perfectly to be able to combine it with the rest of his team's crowd control abilities. Kraken now pushing down the lane.
That was such a beautiful fight out of Immortals. I mean, they landed so many abilities, blocked so many abilities coming out of TSM. Amazing stuff. These two teams are absolutely insane. Immortals marching down the lane with the Kraken at this point. TSM know that they need to engage. It's the Arcane Passage and the Atlas Pauldron out onto TSM. A defensive after looking to peel Vainglory off. DNZO gets the healing, but Vainglory will drop him down with the help of Bez Chuck. Who will go down next? It's Vainglory with a dead man, tries to keep himself alive. First Judgment comes out, blocked off, but it's actually stunning on Max Green. He dropped back for T-Tigers. Afterburn buying a little bit more time. Bez Chuck chasing Max Green out to the east. Kraken still pushing forward. T-Tigers eventually will drop. Good guy cameraman with the zoom out there for us. Do appreciate that. But Immortals drop. Kraken gets one turret. TSM, a very nice fight.
Team fights happening on both sides of the map here. I love the fact that T-Tigers recognized quite quickly he was not going to be able to make it out alive. So what does he look for? He looks for the next best thing, an afterburn over the turret just to make sure he pushes it down, gives Kraken a little help on its final push to that third choke point.
T-Tigers, just max efficiency, you know?
Max efficiency. I love it. I love it. Perhaps he's learning a little bit from Max Green over here, but I like the fact that there's just never a moment where either of these teams are backing down. That being said, Immortals is now up one turret over TSM, but they are still in the gold deficit. It's tough though, Humanist. It's really going to be hard for Kroll to continue sticking to these targets when he wants to be able to delete Celeste. And if he turns on the T-Tigers, if he doesn't focus DNZO, now these 4-item offensive, like, DNZO is going to blow up the entire team through all these heals even.
Look at it, Vainglory, he does have his journey boots up now. And as far as his next item, what would he expect? Is it just going to be a tension bow? What's he going to finish off there?
Yeah, I mean, one offensive item, Breaking Point, is not a ton of damage, so a lot of the goals, I think, from TSM at this point is to also make sure Bez Chuck gets in the position to do damage. It could be a tension bow, it could also be a bone saw. Unlikely, I think he's just going to want the upfront burst damage and the flat pierce. He's not going to have a lot of time to auto-attack now. We have 2 Atlases from Immortals. So, Vainglory, show us what you can do, buddy.
Max finds the stun. The Atlas Pauldron on to 2. TSM waited out. Vainglory empowered up in the brush. Crystal Sentry thinking about getting into this fight here. Not too tanky compared to the heroes at this point in the game. DNZO starting to zone out with the Helios. They go Supernova. Not huge damage at this point. Zio stacking up. First, Blasphemer is going to come through. Second is going to connect as well. Max finds the stun. Vainglory going to get blown up. DNZO lets loose the Solar Storm. Won't connect, but Immortals are on the chase. T-Tigers waiting for the afterburn. There it is. Who's he going to go for? Is he going to go through the Arcane Passage? Flash once again looking to disrupt the aggression. Core Collapse down onto Flash. Max zoning out Bez Chuck. Bez Chuck turns with the help of his Crystal Sentry. Bez Chuck wants to play, my friend. He stayed around too long, and he'll be punished for his mistakes. Crystal Sentry takes Max Green down, and these teams just trading back and forth here, toe to toe.
Toe to toe, but TSM, why do you continue to push these fights at the Crystal Sentry? Has literally lost you the last 2 team fights almost in the same portion of the map. Yes, it is an important objective, but what's more important is Kraken. Kraken should be your focus, setting up vision around the map, making sure you can get a nice flank from a Hell's Heart from over the wall, something that's unexpected for Immortals. The TSM just not finding it. The amount of CC available to them, these Echo blast trimmers doing so much work for Immortals. TSM so much further to go in this game if they really want to close it out.
I mean, Max has really been connecting on those blast trimmers. It's been crazy. I mean, you rarely see them land as often as we have seen them land this game, especially against a guy like Flash X.
Especially against Flash X. We have one Crucible for TSM. I honestly believe 2 Crucibles would be so much more valuable than a Piercing Spear at this point in the game, but we'll have to see where their goals take them next. Right now, it's just to take this Kraken down. This third turret certainly going to fall, but whether or not TSM looks for the engage, we'll have to see.
1 second cooldown on the Helios coming out of D'Enzio at this point. This is insane. They're just firing out across the map here. Defensively, offensively, wherever you want. Arcane Passage in, Bright Bull work down. Core Collapse thrown out, but blocked off. A nice job. They're going to look to kite back now. They're going to block up the Afterburn. They caught D'Enzio. A Blast Tremor will come through, buying time to Fountain as well. But they take Geo down. Max Green should be caught as well. T-Tiger's able to get himself out of this one. TSM, a clean engage, finding 2 kills.
A little deja vu from me to you, Immortals. We were here last game. We saw the fact you get the Kraken out on the map. Oh, takes down the turret. Unfortunate for TSM, not able to take it out in time. Enough distraction from Max Green to be able to get that crystal turret down. But I mean, in this replay, right, we talk about this. Kraken doesn't really have enough effective help for Immortals to be pushing in. They're not going to get enough damage, so it's very risky for them to be going into this choke point with Lyra engaged, the portal going down, and of course, Best Chuck, for the first time almost this entire game, able to get on top of Celeste alongside Von C. And we see the strength of the composition come through when enough of the CC is blocked and you're able to double focus down the back line of Immortals, you can take a victory. It's hard to do though.
What I thought was really clean out of Von C also, he got a bunch of weakness stacks down on his Zeo and then just switched targets. So he was like, okay, you guys cleaned him up. I've done my job here. I'm moving over to T-Tigers. Yeah, Tiggs gets away, but this is Von C utilizing his abilities to maximum effect.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't actually get an Atlas off, if you're not able to keep Von C from getting those weakness stacks on D'Enzio, he's going to do substantially less damage, right? So at that point in time, you can make a decision. Do we pop Smite for execution for the kill, or do we leave it up for enough time for Best Chuck to be able to actually whittle down the rest of the team since the damage output just isn't quite there? Tension Bow came through, by the way. That is the final offensive item being built on Von C here from TSM. Max Green almost close enough to give him a little tap there, but he gets out.
Yeah, that's an interesting port out there. It was a little bit in the danger zone, but calculated. Max having a little bit of fun out on the map here. Immortals do have control. They have control of the Tri-Brush now. Kraken spawning back out onto the map. This is very important positioning, especially having a Celeste. There's like no way you're going to be moving forward here and having Immortals not see you.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely no way. I mean, the auto attacks will reveal, so even if she gets in range from that and you get away from her, it is going to show where you go. The Helios giving vision in the bush. Such an important pick against Kroll in the late game is just the ability to not have to spend so much money on scouts. You only really have room for flares, right? So these Helios are really going to be kind of your temporary scout traps on the map.
All right, well, it felt like TSM were essentially letting it happen, but Immortals just waiting this one out. They really would prefer to take a fight at this point. T-Tigers, he's in the Tri-Brush. Zeo hanging on the backside of this fight. We'll see if Flash wants to engage with the Arcane Passage. That's what he's done in the last 2 or 3 fights. It worked out pretty well for them. Helios raining down across the vault. There's your Arcane Passage and immediately stunned up. A very nice job. Max Green, he's on the backside. Immortals are split apart. Zeo, he's kiting back, dropping the Helios. T-Tigers blocks off the From Hell's Heart. They're silenced up one more time. Tiggs turns around, trying to get the damage. Solotron ripping through, but it's not enough. Zeo, he can't kite back enough. A double kill coming through for Best Chuck in there. Team Solomon turning it up through the roof. Every Team Solomon fan on the street cheering for the team at this point. They've done it. They find the ace. And look at these respawn timers. Team Solomon will just shove down the lane now and take as much as they can off of this map.
TSM doing almost the seemingly impossible task of getting through 2 blast trimmers, merciless pursuit studs, core collapses, afterburns, all the things that could potentially block them from getting the kills they want. They say, nay, sir, we're gonna kill the Celeste,
nay.
We're gonna kill the Glaive, we're gonna kill the Catherine, and we're gonna take this game.
Team Solomon coming here in game 3. You know, you drop game 1, but they come back strong. Back-to-back victories. And Immortals This is a shaky position to be in against TSM here.
It is shaky position to be in, but I would expect nothing less from this series, Humanist. Back and forth. That's the way the games have been. That's the way the series is going. I imagine we're going to get a treat in the next game.
By no means was that an easy victory right there.
No.
That was so
Hard
clean.
fought victory.
But that's what we expect out of a sustained comp, right? Like if someone's going to sustain through the double blast tumors coming out. But to break that one down, we're going to go ahead and throw it over to the analyst desk, guys. What an amazing game.